What is up, you guys? Today's episode, we got a bonus round for you, and I got Joe up in South Dakota. He joined our program back in, I think, September, October, and we dive into his story, kind of when he started the business, what it looked like leading up to joining the program, and what his experience has been since. So with that, let's jump in. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the channel. And I'm super excited because we got another bonus round today with a special guest. He's been in the Woodworking Business Accelerator program now for probably 4 or 5 months, I think, something like that.
Just about 4.
Yeah. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend Joe Piagentino. Is that right?
Yeah, you're pretty close. Piagentini. Yep.
All right, awesome, awesome. Well, welcome, man. We're so glad that you're here. If you don't mind, take just a minute and kind of introduce yourself. Tell us where you are, name of your business, kind of what you focus on, what you do.
Sure. So you already got my name covered, Joe. Sawdust and Splinters is the business name. Located in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Home of the mosquito. So yeah, we launched this about a year ago, January 3rd of 2024. Came from the security industry for the last 18 years. Had some, I guess, just stress. Stress was really what brought me to this. We have a growing family, 4 kids, and I found myself coming home and relieving stress with woodworking, work on projects till wee hours of the night. And then, one day it just hit me. What kind of an example am I leading for my kids, working for a job where I'm miserable and coming home unhappy from work? And I realized how much passion and excitement I had in woodworking and working with people. So yeah, I decided to take the leap. It's no looking back.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. So launched the business technically in January of last year. And when you launched the business, what was kind of the plan? What were you planning on building, focusing on, and how has that kind of played out leading up to you joining the program?
Sure. So the vision was live edge furniture. Love live edge furniture, epoxy furniture. And I thought I had this idea where I needed to have some small products to be able to get by. There was there was a spring trade show coming up that, you know, their focus was spring gardening, planters, stuff like that. So I went all in. I made tons and tons of planters and arbors and all kinds of things. I think I've heard similar stories in the past. Went there, was all excited. I knew the guy really well that manages the fairgrounds. He says, you're gonna just make a killing doing this. So I met a lot of people. I gave out more business cards in the 2 days I was there than I did in any of my other trade shows and security. I sold one planter. So yeah, tail between my legs and brought home a trailer full of planters and an arbor, and slowly kind of got rid of them over time through Facebook. And but I realized pretty quickly the smalls really just cost you time and money, and they weren't profitable. So yeah, word of mouth was working pretty well. I've had some decent little projects. I partnered with a sawmill, went down and introduced myself. Said, I don't want to slam into this industry and undercut anybody. I'm trying to learn it as I go. And the timing was right. His hired subcontractor had just left. So he was needing somebody to do some finish work. So formed a relationship there, and that was really pretty helpful through the beginning. So did a few tables and bar tops and a couple mantles, and I still get some repeat business out of that. So
Nice.
it's gone pretty well for first year.
Yeah, that's great, man. So when you found the program and you were considering, reaching out and joining the program, what were some of the main challenges that you were trying to solve? What were the biggest problems that you felt like you had in your business leading up to that point?
Sure. Well, the first thing was boredom. Uh, Working in the shop and sanding, I'm a technology guy, so I always have YouTube playing. I was kind of getting burnt out on everything I was seeing on YouTube. You start realizing a lot of these guys are just pushing products. I mean, they're good at what they're doing. One day I just decided to search in Spotify woodworking as a business. Uh,
Mhm.
Gave a little bit of time to the first one I found, and it wasn't for me, and then clicked in the second one, and it was you. And yeah, I think I went home 3 hours later, started talking to my wife. I'm like, "You're not going to believe this." So I was excited right away. Biggest challenges for me were um, time management. So
Mm.
I would get a commission project, and then all of my focus and energy would go into that project, and that could be 2, 3, 4 weeks. And meanwhile, I'd put no energy into sales and what's going to be next. So I
Yeah.
was fortunate that things just lined up one after another, but it wasn't good enough. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I remember when you reached out to me, you sent me an email, didn't you? Isn't that kind of how you reached out?
it might have been. Yeah, I think it was on your website. It was like
Yeah.
a forum or something on the website.
Yeah. I remember you just kind of being like, "Hey man, I I think this is going to be good, but I just want to talk and make sure that this isn't a scam and make sure that
Right.
everything feels good." But that's awesome. So you used to kind of originally when you started, you're like, we're gonna go live edge, we're gonna go smalls. How has your business kind of transitioned, if it has? And what have you, what did you learn just through trial and error and kind of your own experience before you got in the program? And then what have you kind of learned since being in the program around just building a business model that's sustainable and profitable and things like that?
Right. So it's as far as what I learned leading up to it, I knew what had to be fixed. I just didn't know how to get to those goals.
Yeah.
So it was, driving more leads. I knew eventually the referrals, the friends and family, and you know,
Mhm.
you can only do that for so long. So I was really struggling to figure out where am I going to start getting my name out to people that I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was always in the front of my mind. Can I make this work? Um, and since I've joined the program, I mean, it's just been a fire hose. So it's the wealth of knowledge that I've learned in here is just it's incredible. I ran a successful business for a long time, and everything I thought I knew about business is it's just different. This is a different world. It's a different industry. Everything is different. So the main thing I was able to take from it is I can still just be a people person. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that too, man, because it's like some people, when they start thinking about launching a business and selling products, they feel like I have to turn into this greasy slime ball used car
yeah,
salesman. And it's really just not the case. You're really just there
right,
to serve people.
right,
Hey, it's an awareness game of can I get in front of enough people and can I create awareness around my products? If you have a good product, nobody else is going to create awareness around your products. You have to do it right. And so
right,
it's awareness game. And then from that point, hey, I really like this. Awesome. How can I help you? What are you trying to accomplish? And how can I kind of come alongside you and help you reach your goals? And you win because you get what you want, and I win because I get a sale. It's a
sure.
mutually beneficial relationship. So you joined in what month did you start? Was it
I
September?
believe it was. I could be wrong, but I think it was September 25th.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. And so your first couple months in the program, kind of just walk us through. You said it's kind of been like drinking from a fire hose, but
Right.
what has what have been some of the biggest takeaways that you've had? What have been some of the biggest benefits of being in the program? Um, and also, what challenges have accompanied the growth that you've experienced?
Sure.
Because that's part of it.
Sure. So coming into this just on the sawdust and splinter side, the business side of it, um, up to September 25th, I was around $29,000.
For the
Um,
year for
Pretty
2020.
low and terrifying. Um, and all of a sudden we got into October and starting to get a few leads here and there and talking to people, and listening to you guys on, set up uh, procedures, and you should really take a look at this before things start ramping up for you. Next thing you know, sold $9,000 worth of tables. Um, so it's like, okay, this is fun. Um,
Was that
so
your first month?
yeah, my first month, and yeah, it was just over nine, and it was three sets. And then, I decided, all right, let's double down a little bit. So I increased my ad spend for November, knowing we were coming into a slow season. It's historically been like that for me and the other industry I was in as well.
Yeah,
So I thought, let's see if we can drive some more leads. So November, I know was kind of slow for some of the guys, but I had another $9,000 month. So
nice.
November was decent. Then December hit. Um, December, I scaled back my ad spend, thinking it was going to be a slower month. So I went back to the $500 a month and sold $15,000 in tables. So
Wow, that's awesome.
it's been incredible.
That's a 30x return on that month.
Yeah, 30, 31, 30.
Yeah,
Um, so um, now I guess today where I'm sitting now is the pressure of all the production that has to be done as a one man operation. Uh,
yeah.
the things I've learned from you guys has been beneficial with that is just the open communication, how to plan and plot the timelines. So I haven't overpromised and underdelivered by any means. I just hate having it hang there. So the goal is
Mhm.
just wrangle that in and let's keep moving. So
It's good. So you essentially did between October, November, and December, you did your entire annual, you matched your entire annual,
right, I beat it.
yeah, in the last 3 months of the year.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's so
And
cool, man.
I guess what's mind blowing to me through all that is we also face some life challenges through that.
Mhm.
And we had a couple of cross country trips that we had to make unplanned,
Yeah,
uh, trying to get back in the groove. Then influenza hits. So these 3 months, had a lot of challenges, but it's been incredible, even with those challenges. So I'm really
that's
thankful.
that's awesome, man. So you're talking about production, talking about that now becoming the challenge now, right? And
Right.
so Um, it's a common thing. It's just normal in our industry that the number one problem we got to solve first is sales. We got to figure out how to get a lot of leads, get a lot of sales. We got to improve our sales skills. But for someone like you, Joe, you've been in an industry where you're a people person for nearly 2 decades. You picked right up, and there was no challenges there for you. But then the bottleneck becomes the production. It's how do we get it all done in a timely fashion? How do we keep our promises? How do we not have a bunch of upset customers? And you mentioned it a little bit, but I want to just dive a little bit deeper into it. Is what has given you? I know that it's like, hey, I know I have all this work to get done, but you mentioned not overpromising and under delivering, kind of doing the opposite. What systems have we kind of coached you up on that's helped you the most? And when it comes to planning and thinking through production, what are some of the biggest improvements that you feel like you've gained from connecting with the coaches and being a part of the community?
Sure. On the production side of things,
Yeah,
um, and I'm still fighting it, is trying to get past being a perfectionist with every piece. I get
yeah,
I get really attached to everything I do. So,
Mhm.
um, trying to separate, I guess not so much separate the love of the product. I think that's healthy to be there, but separating myself from thinking it needs to be perfect for the ant that might walk by and see the spot that I'm worried about.
right.
I mean, I think that's just the biggest part for me and biggest challenge.
There's
Yeah,
a there's this principle called the principle of diminished returns, and it's one of those things that I realize it's like you can sand on something as long as you want to sand on it, right? You could sand on it till the end of time.
Right.
Um, and but there's a level that it's like, okay, this is up to quality. This is, clients are going to be super excited about this. I don't need to sand it to 5,000 grit, right? I
Right.
can
Right.
or 150, 120 or 150 and put a really high quality two or three coats of lacquer on it and we're good to go.
Oh,
It's kind of learning those, okay, to what extent is my work still productive? And then whatever after that point, it's just me being obsessive over things that I know it's going to fire me up, but they're not going to see any value in it, right? And
right.
so
Right.
yeah, that's definitely a challenge I think every woodworker makes, especially when you start getting busier. When you're not as busy and you have more time to flex time to, prolong a project and really, really hone it in, it's not a big deal. But when you got, 8 or 10 weeks of backlog or longer and you've got to get to the next one, you got to find that spot, that line where it's like, okay, we've done everything that we can do, and then everything after this is just diminished returns. We're not seeing
Right.
a huge return on all that time and energy. So
Right.
it's a great
And,
concept.
and paired with that is just some of the organizational tools that you guys already have in place. I mean, you've learned the hard way for a while, and uh,
Yeah.
have the capability of teaching the rest of us. So taking those tools from things you've learned in the past are beneficial, and will continue to be beneficial. I mean, I'm not even using them to their full capacity yet. So uh,
Yeah.
yeah, really looking forward to being able to utilize everything.
Yeah, that's another thing I'll just kind of riff on for a minute. It's, when you jump into a program like this, it's like everything we could talk about, we will talk about. But you can't talk about it all the first week or the first month or even the first 3 months inside of a program. It's like you kind of got to take it in stages and phases. And, we see like, okay, the number one thing we got to solve when we first get in here is we got to get ads up and running for you. We got to help you maximize your organic opportunities, and we got to start getting sales rolling. We got to have cash to keep the business afloat. We got to start getting orders, and then it's where do I order all this stuff from? What are the vendor relationships and connections? What are the timelines on shipping? How do I do a lumber yard audit and make sure I'm getting the best lumber for the best prices? If I can get it pre-milled from the lumber yard, that's even better. Not everybody can. Basically, it's based on where you're at in the country. But then you get everything and it's like, okay, if I need help building stuff, we're there to help you build stuff. Then it's like, how do I make sure I'm communicating proactively with my clients, waiting on their stuff? How do I make sure I'm keeping these books clean? How do I make sure that I'm finding a good accountant? All these things come up over time, and it's very easy for guys to come into the program and feel overwhelmed. But we've kind of figured out like what you need and when you need it. And like so, like you're at the phase right now that normally I'd be like, hey, let's look at your CRM. How clean are you keeping your CRM? Are you checking it? Are you following up on a consistent basis? Because you've got so much lead flow and you've gotten some sales and you've experienced some success that it's easy to kind of slip into. I'm not saying that you are. I have no idea. I haven't looked at your CRM,
Sure.
but it's easy to kind of slip into like, oh, well, this is just going to take care of itself when we need to go back and revisit habits,
Right.
tendencies, and give you a schedule to make sure that you're following up with people, maximizing your sales opportunities. And then from here, it's really, I tell this to everybody that we visit with on the phone, but it's like we're here to help serve your vision of where you want to go. We've got guys that are wanting to really scale to the moon. We got guys that are wanting to just, maximize the space that they're in. And our goal is not to put our personal vision for your business on you. It's just to help you
Sure.
yours. And so, what does that kind of look like for you? What are you wanting to do with the business? Where are you wanting to take it? And what are some of your short-term and long-term goals?
Great. So with making such a massive career change, uh, I really want to have an established name in town. I have big dreams and big visions there. But I kind of hold those back. I have the smaller goals first. So um, getting more efficient and learning all the tools available to me to be able to grow more efficiently and successfully. But yeah, building a legacy, really.
Yeah.
Where I was at before, I had every intention of purchasing that business and hopefully handing it off to one of the kids. And life just plays out the way it plays out. So
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
I absolutely love what I'm doing. I love everything about it and the people I'm meeting and new relationships. So I just want to keep building on that and see where it takes me.
It's good. A couple more questions for you before I let you go. We have guys that come into the program that do very well. We have guys that come in and they tend to struggle. What do you feel like were some keys that helped you succeed? What do you feel like are some, maybe they're just things about you and your personality, or maybe they were parts of the program that you really leaned into that seemed to really help. What do you feel like has helped contribute to your success?
I think the community that is provided through the program,
Mm.
um, not only the coaches, but just everybody there,
Yeah,
being able to, not be afraid to say, here's where I'm at, here's what I need, which, I did some of that in Facebook groups over the years, and sometimes you can get some help, sometimes not. And here it's just it's almost like a family. Everybody is willing to help each other. Everybody's here for the same reason, and yeah, it's just great. The community it's is the biggest part to me.
that's awesome. I love it. I love it. So, we've had some guys that have come in the program and haven't succeeded, haven't done well. What would you say would be like the number one thing that somebody would need to make sure that they did in order to be successful in the program? Like what are get or give me your top two or three things that are like, hey, if these are the main things that the actions that I've taken that I feel like have led to my success, that if anybody that would want to join, you need to make sure that you're able to do these things.
Sure. I'm a firm believer in communication. Communication is the key to everything.
Yeah,
So we're all joining this program to drive leads. But there's nobody else to take care of those for you. So I think making sure that you're managing your leads, and we've talked about this recently, and even for me, it's different. I mean, I came from an industry where I was meeting face to face. I'd drive hours to go meet a customer to sell something.
right.
So using the tools and knowledge of people around you to use a CRM and being able to communicate clearly with your potential clients. So I just think that's huge, number one. And number two is just be honest with yourself and
Yeah.
with the people that are there to help you. And I think the more honest you are, the better the help is.
That's really good. And I want to stay on that for just a second because a lot of guys come in and they do have a struggle here or there, or they're not really getting the sales that they want to get, or they're frustrated about things and they instead of getting louder and communicating more, they get quiet and just kind of fade
Sure.
into shadows. And it's very difficult for us to know how to help somebody that isn't really talking or isn't really communicating with us. And so I think that's just super, super helpful for anybody that would be considering joining or checking out the program is that just you very rarely does somebody come straight into the program and everything just works flawlessly. And they are the kind of person that just immediately absorbs it all and just takes off and runs with it. There's always some level of friction of like something that you don't understand or you don't necessarily know how to integrate it into your life as it is. And so those are the kind of conversations that myself and the coaches are here to really help with is how do we help you take these principles and apply them to your unique situation because everyone's situation is different.
Right.
We got guys that are here that are young, single, full of energy, can work 14, 16 hours a day to not bother them. Then we got guys that are in their late 50s and 60s that they've already retired and they don't have they don't have the energy. I mean, I'm 33 and I do not have the energy that I did 10 years ago when I was 23, right? So it's just applying the principles to your unique circumstance. And so, well, man, I appreciate you hopping on the call. A couple more questions, and then I will genuinely let
Sure.
you go. This is the pastor coming out of me where I lead you on for I'm about to wrap this thing up, about to wrap this thing up. Uh, but so outside of the program and what we teach and what we talk about and those sorts of things, what other resources have helped you in business? You know, you were a successful business guy for a long time before you you know pivoted into this industry and joined the program. So, what books, YouTube channels, podcasts? It can be general business ideas. It can be
Sure.
woodworking related. What other resources out there would you recommend to somebody that's trying to grow a business?
So I'm not much of a book reader, but I like audiobooks. Years and years ago, I had some financial struggles, and I found Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
Um, and I lived, eat, and breathed Dave Ramsey, listened to the podcast multiple times, the audiobook, studied it, and then came up with my own solution for it. And with coming up with my own solution, I just learned a lot about myself. So as time went on, eventually another audiobook of his came out, Entre Leadership. Uh,
Hmm.
Big fan of Entre Leadership. I learned a lot from that, especially with managing a bunch of younger guys,
Yeah.
and just learning how to manage. And again, it just comes down to honesty and communication. And other than that, another big eye opener for me would have been Gary John Bishop. I don't know if it's appropriate to say the book title, uh, but it's Unf Yourself. Uh,
Okay.
Gary John Bishop. It's just interesting perspective on life, and it just kind of opens your eyes up to looking at yourself and how you treat people and treat others. So
If I haven't read the book, but I kind of am familiar with the concept. You know, it's one of those things. It's like we're almost afraid of our own success, or we're almost afraid of our own. It's like we would rather hang on to a dream that can't fail and talk to our spouse about it and lay in bed and daydream about it than actually go try it and either truly succeed or truly fail. But
right,
it's like I think so many guys just self-sabotage because they won't take the action because they're afraid of how they'll feel if it doesn't turn out the way they want it to turn out.
couldn't
And
agree
it's like,
more. Yeah,
and I've been there, I spent years there. From the time I was, in my younger 20s all the way up till I was about 25, 26 years old and wanted to do things, wanted to start things, but I was like, no, I just,
sure,
and it's a process that we all have to walk through. But just for anybody that's listening to this right now, that you like, maybe you've been considering like taking the leap and starting the business, or you've been considering joining the program, or you've been considering, taking that next step, and fear is holding you back. The main thing I would just encourage you with is that, it's better to try and fail than never try. It's
yeah,
better to try and fail because then these are my weaknesses. These are the areas I need to improve on. These are the areas that I can study and get developed in.
right.
And so that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. I haven't read the book, but I'm sure I'm familiar
It's
with the
interesting.
concept of
Yeah.
uneffing yourself. And so
Right, right.
you know,
Yeah.
so that's awesome, man. Well, so sawdust and splinters, you're in South Dakota. How cold is it in South Dakota right now?
We're at a little bit of a heat wave today. I think we're at 12 degrees. So, yep, yep. I learned a little bit about heat pumps this week when we were below zero. They don't work.
Oh, wow.
So,
Dang. Yeah, that's no fun, man.
yeah, turned into an office day.
Yeah, for real. Well,
But
Jeff, I appreciate your time, man. If if anybody wants to connect with you, reach out to you, is the best place. Facebook, Instagram, personal page, business page. How can people find you?
yeah, Facebook, JP's Sawdust and Splinters, our website, snswdwx.com. I'm always around.
All right, man. Well, thanks again so much. And one thing I like to do just to end this call is just honor you. And you've been a great addition to the group. You're so encouraging. You're so positive. You keep a positive outlook all the time, and you just bring such a friendliness, and you just reinforce the culture that's already there. And just love having you there, man. And
I,
so.
I
uh,
appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Love having you. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, let us know in the chat below if you're watching this on YouTube. And then if you want to connect with Joe and ask him about the program, feel free to. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me or a member of my team. There's links in the description below to ask more questions about the program. But what we do is we help guys like Joe that have a passion for woodworking develop business systems and strategies and help scale those operations to where it can support them and replace their full-time income. So if that's something you want to do, or if you want to just build a great side hustle, we're here to support your vision. So with that being said, we'll wrap this thing up. Love you all. We'll see you guys in the next one.